Okay, this is I don't want to call it a response, but I guess it is a response to the video on YouTube. It's called Fox's Stossel Advocates Repealing Part of the Civil Rights Act. And it has Megan Kelly and John Stossel talking about Rand Paul, who's a candidate for the Kentucky Senate. And he made a comment about the civil rights legislation, I guess the Civil Rights Act and everything. That he agreed with some of it, but he doesn't agree with the government forcing private businesses or industry to um, not discriminate. And John Stossel and Megan Kelly sort of had a mini debate about it, I suppose. And it, I agree with John Stossel. He made a very good, sound argument. I'm not a libertarian, so I don't follow all the tenets of libertarianism. I like to think of myself as just someone who thinks for himself, and so I don't really title myself with any ideology. I used to call myself a Democrat and then Republican and then conservative and saying I'm not any of those things. I'm just a man, and I try to think for myself and see what makes just good common sense, based on what I believe to be true and right. And the argument Stossel made is very good, and I think he's right on the money. It's we don't want the government forcing us to do certain things that, first of all, our laws already cover. Our laws cover certain types of things. First of all, the government cannot discriminate against citizens based on race. They can't. It's unconstitutional. It's within our Constitution. It's in our civil rights. And unfortunately, Jim Crow era and everything is a reflection of the government ignoring the Constitution, and that's what blacks and any American citizen should be up in arms about is when the government violates the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, when it crosses the boundaries that are set in the Constitution and our Bill of Rights. That's what should make us angry, not all these buzzwords, civil rights and discrimination and racism. I mean, it just seems over the top, you know. I mean, of course, we don't want racism to exist. We don't want blacks or any other ethnic group or any group to be discriminated based on their race. That's ridiculous, you know. But at the same time, um, we don't want to force anybody to like anybody else. you know, it's just silly. We can't do that. That's just not, it's not sensible at all. Um, so, like Megan Kelly's argument about, trying to refute John Stossel and saying that, well, saying it's like I agree with murder, but I don't agree with police officers enforcing the laws to, against murder. That's not the same thing. That's so off base. It's absurd. I mean, I hope she was just playing devil's advocate because that was just a foolish statement. It's not the same thing at all. I mean, a true analogy would be to say I agree with murder. I mean, I don't agree with murder, but I don't agree with officers forcing people to like each other in order to prevent murder. That would make more sense, and that would be. But at the same time, that's a sensible argument. We don't want police officers forcing people to like each other in order to prevent murder or any crime. And that's what we're doing. We're taking the law enforcement, which is the government itself on a whole, and we're saying go out and force other people to like other people. We're saying we're going to force white people to like black people by saying that you have to let black people come into your private business and work there. Not only be a customer. We're not even talking about being a customer. We're talking about you have to hire black people. You got to hire white people. You got to hire. It mainly applies to whites, of course. It doesn't really apply to blacks. Blacks, we tend to get away with murder, man. Figuratively speaking. You know, we can have an all black, law firm, an all black cafe, all black, club, all black organization, and nobody blinks an eye. But you have an all white country club or all white, business, and all of a sudden, you're in the investigation, man. Al Sharpton comes a screaming, him and his buddy Jesse Jackson. They'll be on TV saying how racist you are. So it's foolishness. I mean, we don't want government forcing us to like each other. We're not children. We're adults. I do that with my kids. I tell them you have to like your sibling. You gotta like your brother. You gotta like your sister. And it's like that's in a family. you know, my parents did that with me. They said you got to get along with your family. With your brothers or with your. It's like okay, well, I got to. I live in this house. They take care of me. They feed me. So if they say I gotta like my brother, I'm just gonna have to get over it and like them. If they say I gotta like my sister, I gotta get over it. But of course, my parents they feed me. They're paying the bills, they shelter, clothes, they educate me. So I kind of have no choice. But in the real world, beyond the family unit, the government is not my daddy. Simple as that. The government is not our proverbial father. They don't control our lives. We are supposed to be sovereign citizens with a capital C. We determine our own destiny and our own future. We decide who we were going to like and who we're not going to like. We decide who we're going to marry and who we're not going to marry. All rooted in our own selves, based on our culture or, our lifestyle, our belief systems, our heritage, our inheritance, whatever the case may be. Government doesn't decide those things. I decide, who I'm going to will my estate to or who I'm going to leave my land to. You know, the government doesn't decide that. And the problem is we don't see things in that way. So we got groups out there crying and screaming about racism and discrimination. And then they're crying to the government to fix it. Oh, fix it, pass a law or something. And we think it's good. We applaud it and all that. But the reality is it's not good. It's not. Another parallel is Terry Schiavo. You know, I mean, that has nothing to do with racism. That has to do with, you know, so-called medical rights, right to life or right to death, or whatever, euthanasia and all. And it's like, you know what? I mean, I don't advocate assisted suicide, but at the same time, it is an individual choice. I don't want someone deciding when I live or when I die. I want to decide that myself if I have the power to, and if I don't, and life, takes a turn, and it does, so be it. But the people who are closest to you ought to be the ones that make that decision, not some Congress or legislative branch or some not-for-profit, government group or some, you know, you know, it's just silly. We're caught in this endless cycle of ideological psychobabble, and all we got to do is stop and think. It was Terry Schiavo's husband and her parents. It's between them. Let them decide how they're going to deal with it. And if her husband had, if he has the legal rights, because he's her husband, he married her, he put the ring on her finger. You know, we may not like his choice, but at the same time, what can we do? We can't take away his right as a husband to deal with his family in whatever way he sees fit. You know, I mean, it's as simple as that. We like I said, I don't like it. I don't like that they let her die. I don't. I don't agree with him. I don't think he should have did it. But at the same time, I'm not him, and I don't know all the details of his life or her life. I don't know. I mean, time bears out all truth. So in time, we'll know. But my point of this whole thing is stop running to the government for our answers. The answers are among us. It's within us. So, that's it. You know, uh, let's get back.